Thank you all for being here today. My name is Lahari Chowtoori, and we are probably the last session for the entire conference, and I really appreciate you all being here, even though this is literally the last one. But this is the best one, trust me. So I'm Lahari Chowtoori. I'm a technical program manager at AWS, but this is not from AWS. This is entirely from community. I'm a member of Jupyter Community Building Working Group. So far, whatever I have learned about the Jupyter Community Building Working Group, and as well as what the working group has done in the past few years from the last JupyterCon, and what are the next steps for the working group is what I'm going to share today. So we are actually a team of 6 individuals from different organizations and institutions. So unfortunately, one of our team members couldn't come here, so we photoshopped her, and so she should be very happy. So, yeah, she's very tall now. So we have Rocio from Anaconda, we have Martha from Plotly, we have Matt from Schmidt Center for Data Science, and we have Jason, who is an executive council and also on the Jupyter Community Building Working Group. We have April, who has joined us very recently from 2I2C, and they're all here if you all want to chat with them later, and myself, of course. So how many of you are actually familiar with this particular working group? Great. So mostly I'm going to refer it as JCB because it is too long for me to say all the time. So we basically work on behalf of the Executive Council. Our main responsibility is basically to make sure that this Jupyter ecosystem is thriving, and we are able to bring in people and also make it well connected and vibrant for newcomers. And mostly we do all of this while emphasizing on diversity, equity, and inclusion in everything that we do. And we also have specific areas of responsibility. JupyterCon, well, in 2023 we were responsible for it, not anymore, so we can strike it off. And then community workshops. Since 2018, the Community Building Working Group has been responsible for it, and we also have the new workshops this year, and we'll talk about it soon. And then we are also responsible for the various community events and programs. Today we'll mainly discuss about 3 different topics. It's about the latest community workshops, and also about the survey that the Community Building Working Group has conducted, and then the community meetings that happen quarterly. So coming to the community workshops, they have been very crucial in bringing together Jupyter contributors for very high impact work. They have also been highly efficient for in-person collaboration, which have resulted in extremely good innovations which are still being used in the Jupyter community. And the community workshops were I think they started back in 2018, and since then we have workshops every year, and the JCB organizes them and hosts these workshops all over the world and on various topics. So anybody can actually nominate themselves to show what they have been doing in the Jupyter community and how it has been helpful in their workspaces. So yeah, next time look out for it. So these are all the workshops that the Community Building Group has actually hosted since 2018. Among this, there were features that actually came out of these workshops that are still being used today. Jupyter Widgets was actually one of them. And then we also had a handbook that was written just for the education on Jupyter, which is still being used by a lot of schools and the communities outside of Jupyter too. And well, these are these new workshops that have been approved by the Community Building Working Group and as well as the EC. They are going to run from November 2025 to March 2026, and the locations are going to be all over the world probably. Some of them are going to be hybrid, some of them might be completely virtual, and I'm sure that some of them are going to be in person as well. So just look out for the Jupyter blog that is going to come soon right after the JupyterCon, in case if you want to attend them in person. And what else did I wanted to tell you about the community workshops? I covered all of it. Okay, well, the next topic is the community building survey report. The reason why the working group has actually conducted this survey is to understand what are the needs and also the goals across these Jupyter sub-projects, and also to advise the executive council where and how many resources they should actually invest in within the community, and also to identify and share the successful practices that are being followed within the sub-projects. So if you look at this picture, which is not great, but then I did it. So these are all the sub-projects. It is not actually feasible and also not possible at times to communicate with all the sub-projects to understand how they are actually keeping up with everything, how they are communicating with each other, and also the needs that they have and also the goals that they are achieving. So this is the primary reason that the survey was initially conducted, so that the community building working group can actually help them to get those needs met, also help them to highlight the practices that they are having within their sub-projects. So the survey was actually conducted from October 2023 to Feb 2024. Out of 10 sub-projects, only 9 of them have participated. Among these, people from we had key representatives from all the sub-projects, as well as the other people who were interviewed for this. The working group actually took a hybrid approach, which included both the written surveys as well as the interviews. We opted hybrid approach because there were a lot of people who were actually located across the globe. It was difficult for us to get that consistent data from people, so that's the reason we chose a hybrid approach. Well, our investigation focused on 3 core areas. So first we looked at the communication channels and also how sub-project actually interacted within their communities through various platforms, and also what sort of meeting practices they had, how often they are meeting, and what documentation platforms they are using. So even though these are all within this Jupyter ecosystem, there were multiple platforms all the sub-projects were using, which made it very difficult for them to collaborate with the other sub-projects. So even the community engagement, when it came to that, some of them had regular meetings, some of them had bi-weekly meetings, some of them had monthly meetings, and when it came to project scope, it was also difficult to understand how they were maintaining their repositories and their packages. So our analysis also came up with some communication findings. So, they were about the most used channels on the meeting patterns. Of course, GitHub is going to be the platform all the time. So that's the platform they were all using for code contributions. And we heard about Gitter, which had a very varying activity for chat probably, and Discourse had a growing adoption, and then unfortunately the mailing list had very less impact than how they usually had before. And like I said, the meeting patterns were varying across the sub-projects. Some of them had 5 people, some of them had 10 people, and some of them did not even get attendees because of the different time zones. And yeah, these were all the constraints that they were having. And these were the projects that had their own mechanisms, and they came up with practices such as collaboration cafe format, which was like 2-hour session monthly that they ran just for focus coding, and then Jupyter Lab did their community meetings, and then they posted them on YouTube for people to follow. and then security team and this kernel teams had similar technical focus time so that they can have that focus hours of coding. So there wasn't a mechanism that could actually be followed by all the sub-projects so that there is a possibility for us to gauge the impact and also the effectiveness of these mechanisms. So that is one thing that we have identified. They were all working basically in silos. So there were also some key challenges faced by these sub-projects, mainly resource constraints, as in there were few developers who were actually taking responsibilities for a lot of stuff and they were stretched thin, and there was a lack of new contributors to the specific sub-projects, and also there were funding uncertainties, and there was also infrastructure needs that they highlighted. And Jupyter had a very large ecosystem which made it impossible for people to collaborate who are in different time zones. And and then there was also documentation gaps, which though most of them used HackMD platform, there were still other platforms such as GitLab they were using. There was no consistency when it came to tools. We basically saw all sorts of possible tools within the ecosystem. And then, well, the survey was to identify the challenges that were being faced by the sub-projects. However, the community building working group itself faced a lot of challenges trying to implement this survey. It was difficult to get in touch with people across different time zones, and also maintaining that consistent data across all the interviews that we have conducted. And then we initially wanted to complete it in a certain time frame, but it actually stretched a lot to a lot of months. At that point of time, the community building working group had only 3 people, so it was a lot of work for them to do it manually. There were few ideas that resonated across all the sub-projects. So this is a problem that I have seen not within the Jupyter ecosystem, but as well as all the open source projects. The onboarding processes, it is very much necessary for people to have onboarding processes for their specific project, because how can you retain people, and what are the processes that you are following so that they can actually understand what your project does, and also how are you going to help them to bump up within the project. You have to care for the new contributors for them to understand that you're actually caring about them. It is very easy to lose the new contributors that are coming to your project. And also at that point of time, JupyterCon was held, and then there was a huge gap from the last one and this one. So there was a lot of requests for the in-person events. So well, we did come to the JupyterCon 2025. However, but the one thing that stayed consistent was the community workshops, which we are really proud of. And then there was also the request for resource sharing mechanisms, and also the cross collaboration between the sub-projects. These are the few recommendations that we have taken to the Executive Council after our survey. Most of them are clear contribution paths. It could be readmes for the specific sub-projects that details what are the requirements that they are having, and then also the mentorship programs to mentor people constantly so that they can climb up in the contribution path, and also regular cross-project meetings. So we do host the community meetings, but then I think it is actually important for us to bring the people from different sub-projects to share what they have done in that specific month. So I think we do have next steps. Probably we'll try to implement some of them. Well, moving on to the next topic, the community meetings. The community meetings are the meetings that the community building working group hosts quarterly, mostly to share what you have, and also to invite people what they have been doing within the Jupyter ecosystem, or maybe if they have used Jupyter outside the community in their workspace or in their education, or maybe let's say you organized an event or organized a workshop, it is mostly a show and tell opportunity for people using Jupyter. It also actually serves as a global platform for us to connect people across the globe. So we are actually looking for people to host the community calls too. So it is open to not just entire Jupyter community. If you are actually starting out your journey within the Jupyter, you are welcome to host the community meetings as well. So I'll share more information on that later. So like I said, it doesn't have to be just the Jupyter Lab extensions. These are some examples that people have shared in the last previous community meetings. They have shared about the new extensions that they have come up with, new package releases, and the community initiatives, like I said, any event or the workshops that you're hosting, or any user success stories. These meetings are open to anybody that want to share anything. You do not have to feel compelled that you have to share something. You can also just come and listen and probably learn something from it and then go back. That's totally fine too. So do join the community meetings to learn about what's happening in the ecosystem of Jupyter. All the community meetings are recorded because we have people from across the globe in the ecosystem. And like I said, anybody can host the community meetings. We are actually looking for people to volunteer from the next community meeting itself. Currently, they are being held quarterly because of the lack of resources. If we have enough volunteers, we are planning to host them monthly as well. Beyond the calls, we have a lot of platforms where there is ongoing engagement. So Zulip is one platform I would definitely urge you all to get in, and this is where the entire Jupyter community will be on, and there are GitHub discussions, discourse, and then you can also get onto the HackMD documentation platform to learn about, I think Rocio does all the updates on the HackMD documentation about what's actually happening in the community meetings as well. But get on Zulip, that's where you'll find the Jupyter community. The next community call is on December 4th. If you want to sign up for it, you can actually scan the QR code and probably put your item on it. And if you also want to host the community meeting, Rocio will guide you through the entire process. It's very simple. If you want to get in touch with Rocio, she's here in the room. You can also access the survey report that the Community Building Working Group has done, and then you can sign up for the community call using that QR code. You can watch all the community meetings that have happened before using this QR code. There are a lot of them, but take a picture.